All right, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so welcome to this workshop. My name is Maral Ogamba. I'm a fourth year computer engineering major. And I like to watch Netflix, Hulu, take naps, scroll on Twitter on my free time. But with me is Trinity. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I'm Trinity. I'm a third year mechanical engineering major. I also like Netflix and naps. I might take one after this workshop. So nice
Yeah.
to meet y'all.
These are some of the objectives of this workshop. We'll do like basic syntax, numbers, strings, variables, and then we'll finish with loops and functions. And at the end, we hopefully want you guys to have a small calculator demo. So that's the goal we're working towards, is building a calculator that does like simple, just adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And if we get past that, maybe we can also work on choosing those options. So we'll work on like having a fully functional program. And so the first 10 minutes, I had wanted to review the Python cheat sheet, but it's linked in the slides, so you have access to it the whole time. So we should just move to the next step, which is setting up the integrated development environment, because I know we only have like an hour. I don't want to, lose too much time. And so you already have this slides. That's the link to the Python cheat sheet. And so I'll just go over like the basics of Python, and then we can go on to some of the exercises I have planned. So basically for Python, it's super easy because when you're assigning variables, you don't have to mention what those variables are, like when you have other languages. It automatically knows that, like in this case, I'm saying A is the number 5, where X is the word PYT. And so in other languages, I'd have to define this as integer A, or string X, but in Python, it already knows. And then we also have, so variables could be strings, numbers, floats, a bunch of other things. But the basic idea is that these are the building blocks of the language. You can use that to make statements that evaluate to true or false, or make a statement that adds to a certain number, or make a string that says a certain thing. Um, and so another type of variable you can have is a Boolean, which is a true or false. This is really nice because you can use this to check if two things are equal, then you want to do a certain thing. So for example, if I wanted to decide when to run a certain program, I'd have these conditions. And so if it evaluates, I can choose if to see if it evaluates to true or to false in order to run that certain thing. And so in this case, X can be true, Y can be true, and then the answer will be true. But if X is true and Y is true, and this symbol right here, the exclamation point equals, means that they're not equal. So you want to check if they're not equal. So if they are, that means it's false. If they're not, that means that evaluates to true. And then greater than, less than, just like in math. Please slow me down if you have any questions. Also going to open up the chat right here just in case anyone has anything. The next thing we have are if else statements. And so if the code to be executed, if a condition is true, then you want to execute the code inside this statement. And so another thing to note for Python is there's no sort of curly braces or parentheses. We just have tabs. So if you write a statement and then you enter and tab, that means that the second statement is inside of the if or else. And so this is just a simple, if one thing, do, else if it's not that thing, do something else. And so that was just a really quick rundown. I want to have you guys open up the workspace because it's hard to explain it theoretically. It's easier if we just practice something. So has everyone downloaded idle. It should look something like this. Please let me know if you have it. Or I guess, yeah, let me know if you need more time. So I'm assuming everyone has it. Thumbs up. Right, not everyone has it, I'm assuming. What's the next slide? Okay. All right, so if everyone has idle, I'm just going to continue on to the next step. And you'll be creating your first program. So the first thing you want to do is create a new file. So you want to head to, right now I'm in idle. This is in the background, but it's really idle file. I want to open a new file. I'll make this smaller so that you can see the main screen. Okay. So basically, just to quickly explain what idle is, it's an integrated development environment, meaning we can create Python files, we can write them, we can run them, and we can also debug them. It's just a really nice way to quickly run Python files. If you're in a different language, sometimes it's more complicated, but most of them have their own IDEs that make it quick and easy to run programs. And then we also have text editors where you can just write a whole file, but you'd have to run it on your terminal or your computer once you've downloaded all the appropriate software. So this just gets rid of that, and we can just do it in one place, and so it comes out all nice and neat. So the next thing you want to do is you want to type in your first command. And this is just a print statement telling the computer that you want to print a specific thing. Once you have that statement written down, you want to file, save as, pick a destination. I'm just going to click my regular downloads, save as, and I want to call it hello.py. That's the extension for Python files. Save. Once I've saved my file, I want to come here to Python, to the shell, and I want to click shell. Oh, wait, did they change it? Oh, wait, sorry, wrong thing. I want to stay in the file, not the shell. And then I want to hit run module. So basically what it did was it ran my file, and what my file does is it prints hello world. For simple commands like this, you could also just do it straight into the IDE. So you could have just done it here, hello world. But it's a good way to practice creating files because you want to be able to edit and save. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Oops, I see the chat. Yes, okay, perfect. I'm so sorry, I should have that up so that I'm not fully talking to myself. I don't know how to Zoom. Okay. So the next thing we're gonna do, run module, is go to the starter exercises, which are a bit more complex. So if you hit this file, it should open up this whole thing, practice exercises.py. And I know the instructions say to copy paste the whole thing, but I think we can copy paste one thing at a time. So what you want to do first is copy paste this statement into a new file. New file right here. Also, Trinity, do you see the chat when I have it up, or do you not?
I don't, but I can also pull it up in case anyone like has a question. I'll let you know.
Okay. Right. Oops. Where are my slides? All right, right here. Okay, so copy paste into idle, but I think let's just go one at a time. So you want to copy paste the first one, strings exercise. That's just a comment. Right, and so basically, these are the things that we can do with strings. We can print them, we can concatenate them, which means to put them together. So you can print hello separately plus world separately. You can convert a number to a string. So if I do str 2 point whatever, that turns into a string with quotations, 3.14. So you can't do math with a number that you've changed to a string. But if you do have a string, you can change it into an integer and then do math with it. So this just allows us for like when people are reading off numbers off of a program and it's in a string form, you can convert back and forth and do stuff with that. Or you could print out an integer as a string to like print out and give someone a result. So in idle, we have our whole thing right here. And basically, I've set up a variable equal to my string, my name, Mural. And then I print the variable name. This is really good because if you have a really big program, you have a bunch of print names everywhere. You could just have name and you can just change it here and it'll change everywhere else. So in this exercise, I want you to create a statement that prints my name is and put in your own name. And that contain shouldn't be there, but then it should print your statement. So go ahead and do that. And then do the file, the save, and the run module. And then let me know once you're done. Is it 2:53? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna try it too, just in case there are errors, because I want to see. That's interesting. Okay. You can just save this, by the way, as practice exercises.py or whatever you wanted to call it. Oh, I see. So one thing is I think the quotes when copied over might be wrong. So feel free to just Control Z. Feel free to just comment out those sections if you want so that they don't run. Okay, so that should print similar to the first thing we did. All right, and then the next exercise, We're gonna do a couple of things with numbers. So there's two types of numbers you can have in Python. You can have an integer and a float. An integer is a whole number, and then a float is something with a decimal or a fraction. So in this case, 2.8 is our float. So you can have integer addition and float addition. So you can have either one of those, the same goes for if it's multiplication, division, subtraction. You can have the same types of integer / float. And so for this next exercise, minimize this. For this next exercise, it's an arithmetic exercise. You don't have to copy the example, but you can copy the writing an arithmetic equation so that you don't get any. Actually, I think this might be fine. Control-C. Open this back up. Idle. I'm going to copy paste that. Right, so we're in the arithmetic section. This is example of like really large multiplication. And then it also has order of operations. I think in this case, it'll just go across the line, but you can always add parentheses where you want it in order to change the value. And so for this exercise, I kind of want you to write an arithmetic operation that equals 50. This could be anything. You could do addition, subtraction, multiplication. You could do a combination to see what that gives you. Okay, I think I'm just going to do a quick. I'll just save that, Command S, and run. Do we have any errors? Okay, perfect. It's still going to print all this other stuff. So if you want to, you can also comment that out so that it doesn't print everything that you do each time. All right, once you're done with that exercise, I'm going to move on to the next one. We're going to talk, or we kind of have talked about variables throughout. They're kind of intertwined with strings and numbers, but there's something else that you can do, or something else to note is that you cannot add integers and strings. And so for the next exercise I have for you is a variable exercise. You just want to copy that. Come over here. And I just want to paste it in. And so for this exercise, here we have one variable saying Python is. The next one we have is awesome. And so if I assign a variable that's x plus y, does anyone have any guess? I mean, I kind of already gave it away, but does anyone want to tell me what it would print?
Wait, which one? Sorry, which example?
Variable exercises.
The first one or the exercise?
Example.
Python's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
And so you want to, for the next one, fix the error in this section. What variable should we change to make this work? And it's kind of I guess you don't have to change one particular one, you could change either one. But in this case, I guess you can change this to. Actually, I should show you what error that brings up so we can talk about it. Run module. All right, so it gives unsupported operand types for integer and string. So you can change either one. Actually, let's just change that. Okay. Right, and so the next one is comparison operators. So basically, like I was mentioning, you can compare two objects to see if they're equal, greater than, or not equal or less than. And you can also have these be strings, or you can have them be booleans, which are true or false objects. And then these are basically called Boolean operations because you're either getting a true or false answer. So for the next comparison operators exercise, we'll copy, come into idle, paste. Right, so basically, how would we make the first one true and the second one false using operators? So in this one, I think I want you to change the operators.
You do not equals and then less than.
Yeah, basically. Because 5 and 3 are not equals to each other, and actually that was already right. But 5 is greater than y. 5 is greater than 3. I got my brain. Save that. Run module, and the result should be true and true. Oh, I guess I wanted it to be false. That's why. Run module, true and false. Yep. All right. So the next exercise is an if or else. So this kind of gets in bigger to how programs work. We say if one condition is true, then we want to run something else. If another condition is true, then want to run something else. And these statements could be anything. Well, they have to be Boolean operators, but they could be a range of them. They could contain some sort of operation that you did before. And it really is up to like what your program is doing. So in this example, we just have a variable that we've assigned 100. We're saying if the variable is equals to 200, then you want to print something. Else, if it's equal to 150, then you want to print something else. Else, if it's not equal to any of those, then you want to print the last thing. So I'm going to go over, copy, paste the last expression. Last exercise. Okay. So for this last exercise, what values in A and B make these following statements true? So all the statements can be true because obviously you have if and else, and you want it to fit one condition and not all of them. So I want you to go through changing. So I want you to go through changing these values to see what it prints out in your if-else statements. You can also play around with this, changing these comparison operators to see how that changes it. Mhm. 5:05. Let me just see how much time we have. Okay, so we have 5 more minutes, and I think we have one more exercise, and then we can move on to building the calculator. Okay, so for this one, let's say my A is 4, my B is 10. I'm just gonna comment out these other things in my code. Save it and run. So in this case, B is greater than A, and it prints that out. A and B are equal. Let's call this 10, 4. And A is greater than B because it's the only thing left. Okay, please let me know if you have any questions. I'm gonna move on to the last thing because we have 4 minutes. Okay, so a loop. Basically, a loop allows you to go through a range of elements. So the elements could be, you want to range through a list of numbers. If you have a list of things as a variable, you want to range through everything in that list. And so this can be used if you want to do something to like a list of things. So let's say I had a list of like fruits or a list of fruits, and I wanted to check that list to see if, let's say, the list of fruits contains an apple or an orange, then I can have a loop to loop through each thing in that element. So I guess one more thing is that there's a few ways to loop through things. If you had a list of things you can loop through and get each thing. So let's say if you had a list of fruits, you could get each fruit, or you could get the position of that fruit. So for now, we're not going to go super into loops or looping through elements because it can get confusing, and I'm not sure if we have enough time, but we'll do a simple loop because we can use that loop to build our calculator. And then there's 2 types of loops. You have a for loop and a while loop. A for loop will go through every single thing that you have in the range, unless in between there you have a sort of break statement. Whereas a while will go while something is true. In this case, while our count is less than 5. And so as our count increases, we're still in the while loop. And once it gets to 6, we no longer enter into that while loop because that condition is not true. So it's similar to an if count is less than 5, but instead of doing it once, it does it the whole time until that's no longer true. So let's copy over the loop exercise. And so we want to print numbers from 0 to 10. What should go in the range? This is sort of a hint for you, but in the range, it starts at 0 and it's also inclusive. Yeah. I guess I can move this here. So for printing numbers 0 to 10. You just put in 10. Save that and run it. And so that looped through and printed every single number. Oh, sorry, I lied to you. It's actually exclusive, not inclusive. I tricked myself. Run module. Okay, there we go. All right, and the last one exercise that we have is a function exercise. So basically, oops. Right, so basically for the function exercise, a function is, think of it like a box, and or better, think of it as like a blender, and you're going to put stuff into that blender and it's going to mix those things and it's going to give you something else. So if I had a function and I called it smoothie, right? And I want to put an apple and an orange and a banana, however much you want to put into that function, and then I want to do something to it. In this case, I want to blend, and then I want to return a smoothie. So that's the idea behind a function. It saves you having to write out each thing throughout the whole document. You can just call a function. And so in this case, I would say I call smoothie with a banana and an orange, or I can switch whatever I'm putting into my smoothie. And so, for example, if you were going to do an adding method, you would define an add number 1 and number 2. And so in this case, you would, let's say, pass in 1 and 2, and you want to return 1 plus 2. And then to call that function, you just say add 2 nums, and you pass in whatever numbers you want. Right, so for the function exercise, I'm just going to comment out what we had our loop before. Okay. One other thing you should know, I think, is just to backspace and then enter so that it's a proper tab, because I think it might mess that up. So what do we want to put in the print statement that prints out hello plus name? And then you should test it out with other names. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you real quick. It's just hello plus name. And I want to save that. Or run the module. Right, so I actually made a mistake because I didn't include a space in run module. All right, so that concludes our exercises part. I don't know if you picked that up, but to call a function, you just call the name of the function and you pass in the parameters that that function takes. Okay, so to build our calculator, open a new file. I'm sure you guys know how to do this by now. New file. Okay. And then you want to go to the starter code for the calculator. And you want to copy all this code. Right. So we'll go through this step by step. Right. So your task is to add 3 more functions: subtract, multiply, and divide. So I forgot who said his intermediate, but
I think he
on
had to
top of the
go.
3 functions, huh?
I think he had to leave.
Oh, he had to go?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
we lost
know.
him. It's okay. But basically, we're creating 4 functions. I already did the add. Right here, you want to define a function, and return basically means you want to return the sum of that value. So go ahead and create a function for subtract, multiply, and divide. And also note that you have to just backspace and enter so that it's tabbed correctly. So I'll give you guys maybe 4 minutes to do that. Right, so it's only been like a minute. Okay, 1 more minute. By the way, is anyone lost? I know that I've kind of been rushing through it, so please let me know. Okay. So I'm just gonna put in mine real quick. Is that my laptop? I think it is. Okay. Right, so once you define your functions, we have everything that we need here. The next thing we need to do is we need to show the user how to choose one of the options that they'd want to run. And so you need to add print statements in here that display options. And so I've kind of given you a hint here with how to display the options, but you can just use, well, you can use whatever you want because we'll have some sort of looping and choosing mechanism so that your user can choose what they'd like to do. Let me know if this is confusing. I didn't explain it the best way. But basically you want to type in options, string options that you can compare. I can give you an example to start. Okay. And then so here, take the input from the user. We basically have a statement that's telling the user, enter your choice. 1, 2, 3, or 4, or in this case, add, subtract, multiply, divide. The next thing we want to do is get the user input. We didn't really talk about this because it goes into reading from the terminal and printing to the terminal, which can be a bit more confusing, but it's basically a function called input. So input, basically whatever choice that they put in, it's saved to the variable choice. Now we have a choice that's equal to either add or whatever you put into your print statements right here. And so when we do input, enter your first number, we want to get the first number that they want to either add, subtract, multiply, or divide. And so I want you to fill in this statement right here that takes in their second number. And then we'll go to the last part, which is comparing which operation to perform. I'll give you guys a minute for this part. All right. So the last part, I'm just going to add in here. Okay. And for entering the second number, we just want them to enter second number. Right, and so for the last part is where we want to utilize everything that we've created. So we have a choice. We want to first ask them for their choice and see what it's equal to. In this case, if their choice is equal to add, then we want to add 2 numbers. So go ahead and fill out the rest of these statements, which should correspond to, I can just put it here, subtract, multiply, and divide. So go ahead and fill in those functions. Basically what this is doing is, so the comma before is just printing a statement that says num1, comma, plus num2 equals and then we're calling our function with num1 and num2. So you don't have to include this part, but if you want, you can just duplicate it and change the symbols. I'll also give you 1 minute for that. Yeah, I did mention getting user input. Use the input function. Okay. So until 5:26, and then we'll go on. How's everyone doing on this? I'm gonna go through and backspace/enter because I know sometimes the tabbing messes up. And the default case, I'll go to, all right. And so once you have all that, you want to click save, calculator.py, save. And for the last minute, we're just gonna run it. Hopefully no errors. Run module. All right, so right here, oops, it's asked us for a choice. So I'm just gonna type in, enter first number. I want 3. Did I mess up somewhere?
I think maybe because you put a space, like when you input add, it thinks it's like not matching. Yeah.
You're right. That's why we have Trinity. Add 3, 5. Ta-da!
Yay!
Yay! Oh my god. Right. So if you are having errors or something's not working, let me know. But that kind of concludes the simple Python calculator. And we kind of went through everything, but there's more in terms of the advanced, where we can create more functions. We can create minimum in the list. We can find the maximum. We can do a sum of a list of numbers. We can find the average. We could also do a factorial. So there's a bunch of things that you could do with this. And if you do have more time and you're interested in it, just create another function, def, call it something, factorial, work on the input for that, and then you can add it to your choices and expand your calculator. So yeah, I will stop sharing since we reached our time.
Yeah, well, thank you so
to
much,
the three of you
Maria.
who stayed the whole time.
Yeah, thanks y'all for staying. I'm gonna do like a heart react.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hang out for a while, I guess.
Oh,
if
it's
y'all
cute.
run
I didn't know
into
you could do that.
bugs. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no problem. And also, if y'all whether you have questions about this or if you work on the advanced calculator or anything, or if you want to learn more code, we'll be here every Monday at 6:30. Well, not us specifically, but EWB and EWH. So feel free to pop back in, get your questions answered by the experts. And yeah, thank you guys for coming and for staying.
Goodbye.